Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this PESTEL Analysis series. My name is Dolakbo Akinola Mojala. I will be presenting my own version of the PESTEL Analysis for ENT 610. Before I start, I would like to help us understand what is a PESTEL. A PESTEL simply is a strategic tool used to analyze the external microenvironmental factors that has the ability to impact an organization's business operations. And these include things like the political terrain, the economic terrain, the social terrain, the technological, environmental, and legal factors that have the capability to advance or hinder the operations of an organization. A PESTEL basically is used to identify opportunities and threats that can affect an organization's operations, its profitability, and its growth. It can also help the organization understand the market and be able to adapt strategies in order to rise above some of the issues that may come out of these situations they may find themselves accordingly. Today, I will be analyzing my freelance business as a consultant, insights, as a freelance consultant for market research and insight. So I will be doing a PESTEL analysis of all the situations that the business, all the factors that a consultant business may face, especially within the African terrain. The first I will be highlighting is the political factor. Many African countries are prone to political instability, as we know, which can create an uncertain business environment. And I have experienced that many consulting businesses often face challenges in eventually being able to navigate this political risk and instability, such as sudden changes in government policies, the fact that government just decide that they want to force a particular policy on the industry. At this point, many businesses have no choice but to adhere to those government policies. In the African consulting space, oftentimes governments push for innovation and infrastructural development. And this can be pro-development, pro-growth for consulting businesses, because then it can open up businesses. But on the other hand, they can make policies that will make you lose business because people then decide they don't want to be in that industry. Another political factor that can affect consulting businesses in a good way are emerging startups and entrepreneurs. Africa is one of the growing continents in terms of population growth and the opportunities that are available for businesses to develop new solutions for its teeming population. And so we see that in the last decade, there have been a lot of emerging startups and entrepreneurs, many fintech companies, technological innovations that are coming up. This is an enhancement for the consulting business because eventually these startups and entrepreneurs and businesses will need consultants who will help them navigate the challenging terrain of the African markets. In the economic space, there are lots of companies seeking new ways to create growth. Post the pandemic, we know that Things changed economically for many African countries. A lot of them lost businesses, some business packed up, while new ones were created. So we see a growing number of startups and new ventures. As the economy continues to expand, people are seeking new ways to capture value. There's also the issue of fluctuating GDP, which is caused by high unemployment and inflation. The economic conditions in Africa are very unpredictable. And because inflation and exchange rates and things like this are not within the control of anyone, it just depends on how the economy is growing. Oftentimes, it is a very critical factor in how well a business can survive. The third factor is the social factor. And basically, the social factor also includes things like culture. Africa is a diverse continent with many different cultures and languages. So it's important that as a consulting business, one needs to be aware of the social and cultural factors that can impact business operations. For example, there's a high level of local diversity. So if operating within a consulting industry where there's high diversity in locality, in languages, where there are over 250 ethnic groups speaking different languages, we should know that it is something that will impact how operations happens. There's also a high adoption of social media. There's population explosion that's supporting the local markets and infrastructural development. Many teeming populations, there's a high young teeming population. And so these are all social factors that need to be taken into consideration as we do a PESTEL analysis. In the technological space, there's an increase in internet usage. Mobile usage and the adoption of mobile is quite high within the African markets. And so the penetration continues to grow because there's still a lot of ground to be covered. So it is something to consider. Whether as a business, it's important. We also desire to adopt mobile as one of the tools we'll be using in providing services or in expanding our operations. There's also the emergence of artificial intelligence, which has become more of a bittersweet experience. As artificial intelligence has come, everybody seems to be in the fear that what's going to happen to my business. Is it going to aid me in growth as a business, or is it going to pull me out of my business? It's a win-win situation depending on how one looks at it. So this is a very critical aspect of technology. It's also important to be able to look at technology from the operational point of view and how it's going to help enhance business operations and customer experience. Thinking about all of these things from the technological angle is quite critical. Let's look at the environmental concerns. Many African countries face environmental challenges, such as recently in one of the largest countries in Africa, Nigeria, there was a huge drought due to the fact that there was no currency. The government decided they wanted to change the currency, and all of a sudden, people couldn't find money to buy food. People didn't have access to agricultural produce. People could not pay for what they needed to buy. So this brought about famine and drought. People lacked many things, and things became very expensive. In such an environment, it's going to be difficult for businesses to survive because even the resources you need will not be available. Human resource became affected because people could not go to work. So it is critical that we look at, the pressures that one may face as a consulting business in promoting sustainable business practices. I do remember I was working on a project at that time, and it was difficult getting around because things were just at a standstill. And this is one of the things that the environmental factors, things like drought, hunger, pollution, where you're not able to, find transportation to move around because there's overflooding, or a bridge that is supposed to take you to a meeting in another location has just broken. These are critical concerns. Another factor to look at is the stifling policies that makes it difficult for new startups to survive, especially in a legal terrain. In many African countries, their policies are stifling such that new startups are not able to survive either through taxation or compliance laws that stifle growth, especially when they know that when these laws are not able to create growth for you, it's a dicey situation. So as we think, in summary, as we think through developing this business, one of the things that comes to mind for me is that a startup starting a consulting business that focuses on Africa I will say it's something that needs to be thought of carefully, because one will need to navigate complex and rapidly changing business environments. And it's really critical that understanding and addressing every single PESTEL factor is the only way that can help develop strategies in order for a consulting business to stay competitive and grow in its operations. Thank you for listening. I look forward to your feedback. Bye.